We had some technical difficulty. We're back. And so the case is Moore versus Harper. Moore versus Harper. Okay. So that's the case that basically will allow, it's asking the Supreme Court to allow the legislatures to draw the line for the congressional districting races. It's called Moore versus Harper. And let me say this to you. If it passes, it will guarantee Republican representation in the House and in the Senate and in the presidency. It's one of the hottest cases that's before the court. But you don't hear nobody talking about it. Because what it is if you do your little background stuff, like, yeah, worry about Cardi B and what she got on, her and Offset, and worry about Kim Kardashian and what Ye doing. And we around here worrying about what they doing, and they making millions. And then you have these cases that have historical impact in the way that our votes are now going to be cast, and the media is not really covering it. You have certain media covering it, but by and large, the general media is not covering it. This is huge. This is huge. So we don't have to worry about voter suppression. Why? Because we're going to draft these districts and boundaries that are going to allow for greater Republican representation. And ain't nobody talking about it. Y'all better, yeah, let me tell you. Listen, let me say this to you. What was it? They stole the election. Oh no. We're going to change the rules to the election. That's what we're going to do. We're not going to end up like we did before. Because let me say this to you. When a person has a taste of power, they're going to always want it. And it is amazing to me that Trump is still able to run out here in different cities. Whomever he says he supports is winning. And you think that they're just going to sit back and let Biden win again? No, we got to change the rules. And once you have the Supreme Court that validates this, it's a wrap. And after Roe v. Wade, they running. Hurry up, get this in front of them. Okay, do this, get this in front of them. Okay. We are going to see the tide turn back by 100 years based on the interpretation of the Supreme Court. We got to stay woke. We have to stay woke. Thanks, Tori. Tori said, I found you for the first time about a week ago when I was surfing the internet. I watched you several times. You're amazing. Thank you so much. We have to stay woke. I love talking about relationship stuff. That's my thing. But at the same time, we need to be well versed in what's going on with the courts. Tori, Linder, all the viewers, no one ever thought in your lifetime, my lifetime, we would see Roe v. Wade reversed. God, that's not going to happen. Once they have the majority like they do now, they're standing in line. And these are people who have a very conservative Republican agenda to get laws changed that reflect their ideologies. And that's what's happening. Oh, get this person against that person. And what it is the way in which you phrase something that makes it seem appealable. When we had the group here in Michigan, Citizens for Better Government, you use words in a way that you believe promotes us coming together as a country. But there's separatist legislation. They're looking to divide and conquer. They're not looking to bring us together. Here we got this one case, as I said, the very first case, uh, fair admission versus Harvard and UNC. You looking to put Asian Americans against blacks and Latinos. Um, Merrill versus Milligan. You're using Latinos and blacks and saying this is not a race neutral reason. So we need to be able to draw maps that don't favor them. Come on. But you using words to make it seem as though somehow they're getting the benefit. But then you see Moore versus Harper. This says, oh, the Republicans can draw it any way they want to. That's okay. But it's not okay that we can draw maps that assure Black and Latino representation. Oh no, we can't do that. It's the way that you say anything that makes the difference. And somehow, in some way, these groups, these conservative groups, have gotten together in the back room to pit one group against the other group so that they are able to keep these groups down. So my question could be could Ketanji Brown be their get over vote? Well, right now, the problem is that even with her vote, we still do not have a majority. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, I just don't see it. And I see that after a Roe v. Wade, when they did that, you are going to say, listen, let's go. Let me ask you a question. You remember, you go, say for instance, you go to the supermarket, strike it. You go to the gas station and you see gas that's cheap. And we put that all on the internet. Go to this gas station on such and such. They got gas. Guess what? Everybody running over there. Why? Because they want gas for a cheaper price. What these conservatives see, we have a court that is so conservative. There's a great chance that we can push in anything that we want. And guess what? We don't have to steal the election. We'll redefine what the election should be. And as a result of that, then we're going to assure our representation. That's all we do. And then what we do is we don't need the House to vote on it. We got the courts to decide it. We'll just call it illegal. And as a result, if it's illegal, then we just have the courts. The courts are doing what the legislature, what the Senate and the House should be doing. Now the court's doing it. And then they'll find one word and say, oh, this is unconstitutional because you have a more conservative Supreme Court. So opposed to allowing legislatures to determine this, which they should, let's go to the courts. They cool, because now we got a more of a balance. This is dangerous. This is very, very dangerous because nobody believed that we would see it overturned. And then you do have justices that flip-flop. We know Brent Kavanaugh, Amy Barrett, Neil Gorsuch, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito. We know they straight up Republicans. But the situation is you never know how Sonia Sotomayor may go. Okay? I would say Ketanji Brown Jackson is probably going to go liberal. And many a times Sonia Sotomayor has gone, but then you got Elena Kagan that can go different, and Stephen Breyer. You have these justices that potentially can go either way. And so what they do is, if there's a stalemate in the House and the Senate, let's put it in the courts. Y'all didn't think Roe v. Wade was going to get reversed either, did you? That's the thing. John McCullen said Dems in Michigan's having secret meetings and the voting rights has been not moving. And let me tell you something, and the Republicans having them at the country clubs. Okay? Oh, come on down. We agree with Trump. This is what we're going to do. We're going to redraw. How in the world is it even plausible, in my words, to allow the legislature in North Carolina that would draw a map that would ensure 10 to 14 congressional seats. How is that even legal? But it's coming up. And I'm going to tell you what they're going to do. They're going to say, yes, you have the right legislature to be able to, that's right, Stephen Breyer retired. You and Katanja came in. You're right about that. You understand what I'm saying? They're going to be able to say, you know what, this is what we're going to do. We're going to give it back to the legislature. When we hear federalist legislation, what is federalist legislation? Federalist legislation is legislation that says that the opposed to the states, that let individual states decide, take it from the federal government. Do not allow the federal government to determine how things should do. Let the individual states decide. And as a result of them, uh, uh, voting, then the states make their own rules. This is called federalism, and that is what they want it to be. They want each individual state to make their own decisions, but the overriding rule will come in a very conservative way from the courts. You see what's going on in Michigan. They running around here doing injunctions and doing this so that we can put it on the ballot to determine whether or not a woman has a right to choose and to protect herself under Roe v. Wade. So what do they have to do? One got to do an injunction over another. It's silly. It's silly. But when they saw how successful that was, guess what's going to happen? It's going down. And I'm afraid of this. And I think that what we're going to see is we're going to see us be back in the minority. We're going to see very, very conservative ideals come out. And that's what states' rights. It's federalism. That's what states' rights is. But it sounds good. Well, I want my state to protect me. Well, if my state is being controlled by a majority of people who don't have my values, how is my state protecting me? My state is then going to pass laws that have been determined for the majority, which what do we see in Moore versus Harper, that they've allowed the Republicans to say 10 of the 14 houses guaranteed Republican, guaranteed. That's not legal. Let people decide. They may say, we want libertarians. We want a Democrat. Let them decide. Let it be fair. But what you're basically doing, you got your hand in a race. And as a result of you having your hand in a race, you're able to call it because he or she who controls the making of the rules can determine the outcome. That's just how life is. Oh, you want me to give that number for the roof? I'm going to put it in the notes. I'm going to make sure I do. We'll be back.